on your way, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakat Yahweh Basham Yahweh Asherah Nathan Nawab Hashabeth Bashalawam the water Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh. Name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the Sabbath and peace. Thank you, so be it. The Aliyah Ma'asharai Machad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayim Aimye Oh Harayim Mayan Yabawa Azariah Yabawa Maya Hawish Ashad Shemayim Warataza La Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala Yanawam Shashramarka Hana La Yanawam Wala Yashan Shashramar Yashvele Yahweh Shemaria Yahweh Tazalia Ayu Ya Yim Ya Yawamam Hashemash La Hakaya Wayarak La Balayala Yahweh Yashemaria Makau Rai Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Habalakya Wabawayat Ma'ifat I Walam Basham Yahweh Shafa Wada Aman. Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber, behold. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen. Shemaiah Shirala, Hero Israel. Shemai Yasharele Yahweh Allahoi Yahweh Akad Shemai Yasharele Yahweh Allahoi Yahweh Akad Shemai Yasharele Yahweh Allahoi Yahweh Akad. Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen. Thapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abinawa Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayya Shanka Yahweh Malakwath Kad Taba'at Rataza One Kad Hayya Aisha Baratazad Kabashamayim Natalanawa Lacham Yawam Zad Wasalakanawa Kabawap Nawa Kasalach Nawa Kabawap Yanawa Wala'at Abiyarnawa O Nasayawan Abo Hawashinawa Murad Kaya Laka Hamalakwath Wa Allah Wa Thaparap Wa Iwalam Man. Matthew 6 and 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Ha'asharamatazawah, the Ten Commandments. La'ab, Yahayab, Lakab, Alahayim, Karim, Alapanyat, La'ad, Ta'ishad, Lakab, Paso, Wala'ad, Thaibadam, La'ad, Talakwakaf, Shamweb, Yehaweb, Alahayakab, Lashawab, Zakar, Af, Hayawam, Hashabaf, Lakodashwab, Kabad, Abiyakab, Wa Amakab, La'ad, Taratazak, La'ad, Tana'at, La'ad, Taganab, La'ad, Tainad, Shakur, La'ad, Tachamad, Ko, Asherab, Lara'ika, Aman. Exodus 20:3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen. Yeshua, please be seated. Barakateh Yahweh by Shemi Hawashai, Asharanathan Nama Pari Agapin Tuaraman. La Yahweh by Shemi Hawashai, Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, the name of Yahweh Shai with Israel. At Magua, planning with Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakateh Yahweh, Haggadah, Rakawam, Abiyah, Ranawa'eh, Aliyawam, Malak, Shal Shemayim, Warataza, Wakal, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Arawanawa, Habnawa, Hapalab, Yawaitaza, Yahawisha, Zakarnawa, Yahawa, Baratazawan, Ainka, Yashala, Zarnawa, Bana, Wasap, Yashala, O Nanawa, Yum Yum, Aita, Kayawum Makudam, Babakusha, Shalak, Mike Allah, Watazwadak, Allahayim, La Maganawa, Rabharnawa, Washamab, Ilnawa, Bakur, Shalak, Haruka, Shal, Yahawashai, Lanawa, Lalabmadnawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Thabawana, Wada Shal the Barka Basham Yahusha the Wada Thum Yad Why Walam Aman. English translation. Blessed are Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor Yahweh Shai. Remember Yahweh favorably your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Latamanawa, Hatawab. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Latamanawa, War, Lara Awab. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathanawa, Karan, Hayo, Lakorah, Ha'ain. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathanawa, Hasheman, Zayat, Lamashak, Yasha'ala, Yeshabwa. Please be seated. All right, so Shah Shabbat Yasharala. So say Shalom. Everyone is here in Philly. Shalom everybody watching us on live stream, and shalom everybody listening in on teleconference. Welcome to Hayashal Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the descendants of slaves, as well as the indigenous peoples found throughout North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, make the southern and northern kingdoms of the 12 tribes of Israel, once lost, now found, and that we as a people fell to a lower state, politically, economically, religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible given to us by Moses, and that we come out of this lower state that we fall into by turning back to these commandments we broke by following Jesus Christ as our example. And one way we do that is by keeping the Sabbath holy from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And as our particular branch of Christ does, we go through a regular Sabbath service. Today, as you see in the header, we're going to be going into 2 Kings 13 and 14 today. Once again, 2 Kings 13 and 14 is going to be our reading for today. My name is Nabiad Zerbabal. I have the pleasure and privilege of going through the service with you guys today. All praise be to the Most High in Christ by way of the Holy Spirit. You can just write down for your notes that according to the Gregorian calendar, it would be August the 3rd, 2024. And according to our calendar, the Hebrew calendar, or the solar lunar calendar as it's also called, today would be the 4th month and the 30th day. Okay, so let's begin. 2 Kings chapter 13. And we'll start from verse 1. You know, last time we were reading in chapter 12, some interesting things going on with the northern and southern kingdom as far as some repairs being done, namely by the king of the south or the king of the southern kingdom, king of Judah. Some repairs going on in the temple. And then we had that particular king reach an unfortunate end, as we read last time in chapter 12. But we're going to continue on with reading with those kings that came after Jehu in the north, and then we had Joash in the south, the kings that came after them. Mainly, they're going to be our focus for today, as well as a conflict we're going to be having with Syria, and then getting into a little intertribal combat, or a little intertribal warfare, beef, if you will, but probably more than even that, between the northern and southern kingdom. We'll touch on that a little bit too, as we go into the events of these chapters. So always remember, anytime we read any part of the Bible, whether it be the Old New Testament or the Apocrypha, that things written aforetime written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Right? Let's always be reminded of Romans 15 and 4. Anytime we read through the records of the scriptures. As I mentioned, record, you can also write down as a reference 1 John chapter 5 and verse 11 as well. Since one way we can look at the Bible as a book of record, which it is. So in 1 John 5:11 it reads that this is the record, that power I've given unto us eternal life, and this life is in his Son. Right? The Son of God being Christ, or in the Hebrew, Mashiach, Elisha, or Jesus, that's how we say it in the ancient Hebrew. So now 2 Kings chapter 13 and verse 1. I usually post this link anytime we'll make a reference to the maps. or to this to the Bible Atlas. At least this one you can follow along online. If you're looking online, if you don't have a copy yourself, I'll post the link in the chat for you guys that you guys can follow along. So the link I posted in the chat, I'm sharing with my screen now. This is on page 100 within this Bible Atlas. This touching on a couple different events, mainly talking about Elijah and Elisha, which you should probably see in your title. We're going to come to Elisha's last days, unfortunately, but we're going to read about him having another prophecy to unfold or impart unto the king. So you'll see here when it says Elijah and Elisha, it references 2 Kings, a couple sections, but then it mentions chapter 13, 14 to 21. So that'll be towards the end of this chapter as you read through 2 Kings 13. But if we look on the map, you know what? It might be better if we. I'm not sure the particular events are posted here, at least as far as the bubble, but we're going to be reading about what Elisha imparts into Jehoash or Joash, king of Israel, concerning his conflict with Syria, which I thought was depicted on this map. It looks like it isn't, but the chapter reference is here. But we're going to pull from another map to number 65, but that's not going to be for or until chapter 14. But either way, let's read. So this is chapter 13 and verse 1. It reads, in the 23rd year of Joash, son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel and Samaria and reigned 17 years. So those are those previous kings we're reading about the last time we're going through 2 Kings, right? I think I showed you guys this picture before, but I can show it to you again. When you go into the Zondervan, look up prophet. This is on it's not. So this is on page 477. But it pretty much shows you the kings that reigned, and it shows you the prophets that were contemporaries with them. So if you look here, and you'll see right above where it says Jonah, where you see on the side where it says the northern kingdom, which is the side on the left, you'll see where it mentions Jehoahaz, and you'll see Joel, the question mark, and then Jehoahaz on the other side too. That's where we're at right now, going into the kings that come after, which is Jeroboam the second, which you'll see on the left side, and you also see Amaziah on the right side. So that's where we're at right now when it comes to the line of kings. Once again, this is in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. This is on page 477. You look up prophets. So yeah, later on, if you want to go back to that and pause that and take a look, feel free. Or if you have your own Zondervan, you can, with your own Bible Dictionary, you can compare and contrast as far as the years. So back in 2 Kings 13, it says he reigned for 17 years. This Joahaz, son of Jehu. It says in verse 2, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and followed the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He departed not therefrom. So, unfortunate news, it says he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Like we always talk about when we read about kings, especially when a king is being introduced. It's always a clincher to see if they're going to do that which was good or right in the sight of the Lord, or if they're going to do that which is evil. Sadly, in most cases, it's more evil than good. But when we actually get good things, it's always refreshing, or any good that they may do. Because remember, in the end, it tells us this in the scriptures. We look at the kings of the north and the south. There's really only three that can really have a good name or be named to say that they were good throughout their entire reign, right? Just as a quick reference, you guys can write down Ecclesiasticus, chapter 49. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 49. And verse 4, and also verse 5. So Ecclesiastes chapter 49, verse 4 and 5, it reads, all except David and Ezekiah and Josiah were defective. It says, for they forsook the law of the Most High, even the kings of Judah failed. So it mentions those three in particular, David, Hezekiah, and Josiah. So we're going to get to Hezekiah next as far as being righteous kings. But even with the other kings of Judah that did right, you'll see that their whole reign wasn't entirely good. Like we just read about Jehoash in the south, where he did right, but then he left high places up. Or there's other things they did that was like a stain on their legacy. Where you won't remember like how these three kings were remembered. Then it says in verse 5, therefore he gave their power unto others and their glory to a strange nation. So that's what we have to look forward to, unfortunately, as we read on. We're going to read about the conflict we're going to have with Syria in particular, or the nation of Aram, which Aram are the Aramites. They're the people of Syria. Not to be confused with the Assyrians who come from another son of Shem named Asher. Remember, Asher is one people, but then Aram is another. Asher being the Assyrians, whereas Aram are what we call the Syrians, without the A. So reading on in verse 3, it reads, and the anger of the Lord, or Yahweh, was kindled against Israel. He delivered them into the hand of Hazael, king of Syria, and into the hand of Benadad, the son of Hazael, all their days. So we're going to read about Hazael, him coming to an end, and also Benadad, his son after him, continuing on in his reign. To link with the three that I mentioned, the forefather of the Aramites, or the Syrians without the A. Let's write down this verse. This is Genesis. Genesis chapter 10 and verse 22. Once again, Genesis chapter 10 and verse 22. So Genesis chapter 10 and verse 22, it reads, the children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, once again, right there, that's the father of the Assyrians. And Arphaxad, that's our ancestor, as far as going into the line of the Hebrews. It says, and Lud, and Aram. So Aram is the father of the Syrians, without the S. So anytime you see Syria, you look in the Hebrew, you'll see Aram, or Aramia. Let's go back to 2 Kings 13. Let's read on in verse 4. 2 Kings 13 and 4 reads, in Jehoahaz, he sought the Lord And the Lord hearkened unto him, for he saw the oppression of Israel, because the king of Assyria oppressed them. And the Lord gave Israel a savior, so that they went out from under the hand of the Assyrians, and the children of Israel dwelt in their tents as before time. Right? So we can't forget Jehu, even though he didn't go fully the way of the Lord, he did do good as far as removing that Amorite dynasty, right, leading down to Ahab and his son that came after him. Right? He started off with a good start by removing Ahab's son Jezebel as well, right? But then he himself didn't follow the Lord; he went off as well. But yet, still, the Most High is merciful, right? And you see in them giving Israel a savior or a deliverer. That was the role the judges would play too. Even before we had the line of kings, we would have the judges would serve the role as savior as well, right? But it says in verse 6, nevertheless, they departed not from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, who made Israel to sin to walk therein, and there remained the grove also in Samaria. See? So you can't leave these high places, these dedications to these false idols around, right? That's going to be a stain. That's going to be something that people will see, and because they see it, they're going to be inclined to go and worship it, to go and follow it. And it talks about Jeroboam. This is the Jeroboam the first. It's going to be another Jeroboam or Jeroboam the second, as you saw in that chart I showed you. But this is just a reference if you're not familiar already. This goes back to 1 Kings. Around the time when the kingdom split between the north and south, we had a kingdom of Israel and a kingdom of Judah. It's going to the time of the two separate kingdoms, whereas before it was one. But in 1 Kings chapter 12, we read about the history behind how this happened. So when you write down 1 Kings chapter 12, the whole chapter 12, but namely 25 to 33, goes to the history about how this happened. And you go into this, Jeroboam is being mentioned here. Jeroboam being the tribe of Ephraim. You go into it, him being one of Solomon's princes back when Solomon was ruler. It was between him and Rehoboam, who was Solomon's son, the next in succession for a line of kings coming out of David. So this time going forward, we have a line going from David and a line going from Ephraim. And then the family line will switch depending on which dynasty we're talking about in the north. But in the south, it would stay with that house of David for better or worse. Like I mentioned, or like we read in second Ecclesiasticus, rather 49, 4 and 5, we read about the three kings out of that line that followed the Lord all their life and didn't go to the right or to the left as far as serving other gods. Even though they may have transgressed, they didn't go and serve other gods to allow other gods to be served during their reigns. So yeah, 1 Kings 12, 25 to 33 as a reference. But now back in 2 Kings chapter 13, I link that with verse 6, now we're in verse 7. Neither did he leave of the people to Jehoahaz with 50 horsemen, 10 chariots, and 10,000 footmen, for the king of Syria had destroyed them and made them like the dust by threshing. See that? So it's going to tell the Most High will allow these heathen rulers, namely the Syrians, to afflict us and to serve as a punishment unto us when we don't serve him, right? To where they'll deplete us as far as our numbers, as far as our resources, right? They'll deplete our power. That's what they did here. You know, reading on in verse 8, it says, The rest of the acts of Jehoahaz and all that he did and his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? It says, and Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash his son reigned in his stead. So there's another Joash or Jehoash name. But remember, during this time, you kind of had the names being shared between the different tribes as far as the kings or the rulers. And you saw that on that chart I showed you. So as long as you just follow along as far as, okay, we're reading about the north, we're just reading the south, you'll be able to know, okay, this Joash or Jehoash was talking about the Joash of Israel. This one was talking about the Joash of Judah. Well, we're going to read about another Jeroboam. Jeroboam only showed up in the line of the northern kingdom, right? At first, Jeroboam, we read about, as I quoted in 1 Kings 12, and this Jeroboam who commonly you'll see him recorded as Jeroboam II in most Bible dictionaries, most Bible scholarship. So look at the names, look at the figures confused. You see that with dynasties of other, kingdoms, both in past and in present, where you'll see certain names come up more than once. Actually, oftentimes more frequently than we will use them, right? It'll be that same name, but the second, the third, the fourth, right? Depending on, if you're looking at whatever line of kings, whether it's, the line of kings in Europe, the line of kings in the Middle East, or rulers, right? Because the names might change from king to caliph to satrap to emperor to, you name it, or whatever equivalent name you might see out there. You'll see names come up more than once.
What are the three northern kings? Three northern kings that were righteous again?
No, they weren't. They were southern, actually.
Oh,
it said Judah. It was Ecclesiasticus 49, verse 4 and 5. You read it?
Oh, I thought you said northern kingdom.
I was talking about the kings of Israel in general. Because it said he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. So that's also the reason why I referenced Ecclesiastes 49, 4 and 5. Because for Judah, you'll see it, it'll say, he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. You'll see it every now and then too with the northern kingdom. But for other kings of Judah, it'll say, he did that which was right. Then it'll say, howbeit, he left the high places up.
Ecclesiastes 49?
Yeah, verse 4 and 5, the link with 13 and 2. So our righteousness and our wickedness as a ruler or as a common folk is definitely weighed in the balance. But to be fully considered, right by God, that's the thing you got to measure up. You got to look at the reigns of those kings in particular, even though they may have made mistakes. Look at how they wholly followed the Lord throughout their years. That being the thing the Most High is looking for. So, and if you ever did serve other idols, let it be that you turn back to the Lord and you live the rest of your days serving the Lord. Let it be that way, at least. Because the scriptures talk about better as the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. Better off you didn't serve the Lord and you came to serve the Lord and you did that to the end of your days, however many days the Lord gave you, versus you serve the Lord, since your youth, and you come of age, and then later on, you go astray from God and start dealing with other idols. You're better off the first way than the other way. So now reading on, it says, I'll read verse 9 again. It says, and Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash his son reigned in his stead. Now reading on in verse 10, it says, in the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah, began Jehoash, the son of Joahaz, to reign over Israel and Samaria, and he reigned 16 years. Right? So we see who was reigning still. It was Joash, who we were reading about last chapter. Remember, when you see his name spelled Jehoash, you're still talking about that same king. The first one we were reading about last chapter that was doing the repairs to the temple. Had to put the special treasure box next to the altar burnt offering so that the funds were allocated to fixing the temple. So remember that they didn't do it at first, as he instructed. So they put that there to incentivize them. Okay, be mindful of now putting money on the side so that we can direct that money to the carpenters, to the builders, so that they can repair the temple. So that's what we were reading about last time we read Kings. We went back to chapter 12. So that's that same Joash. So it says Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, the one who's passed away. Now he's in power, and it says 16 years did he reign. And then here we go again, verse 11. He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Again, he departed not from all the sin of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel sin, but he walked therein. So, link not only 13 and 6, but also 13 and 11. You can link with 2 Kings 12, 25 to 33, which we got some time. I think we will. I might come back to that. We might read that whole section. I want to make sure we get to the main reading first. It says in verse 12, and the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did and his might, wherewith he fought against Amaziah, king of Judah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So now, talking about this conflict that's to come, we're going to read about this conflict actually in more detail when we get into 2 Kings chapter 14, and it's also in 2 Chronicles as well, but we'll get that reference when we get there. This is what I was talking about before as far as the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom fighting with each other. We're going to read about that at the end of chapter 14. So that's what this 13 and 12 is making reference to. But hold tight, we'll get there. So now reading 1 and 13, it says, and Joash slept with his fathers. It says, and Jeroboam sat upon his throne. Joash was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. So now we've got Joash now dying too. We had this record of him fighting with King Amaziah, which is unfortunate. The kingdoms fighting with each other, but we know it was something that was going to happen as far as the split, as was prophesied back in 1 Kings 12 and even 11. And this Jeroboam is when we saw when I showed you that chart, Jeroboam the second, right? Not the same Jeroboam as one from 1 Kings 12. That was many years before. But now we're in chapter 13, and we're in verse 14. It says, it's going to where I mentioned the title as far as Elisha's last days. Elisha being a righteous prophet, like the one he studied under, which was Elijah, who we know we read about being taken up. That's the last we read about him, which was earlier on in 2 Kings. The first couple chapters read about him being taken up into a cloud. And Elisha carrying on the righteous work, him and other righteous prophets, Elijah and Elisha being most notable. It says, now Elisha was fallen sick of his sickness whereof he died. And Joash, the king of Israel, came down unto him and wept over his face and said, O my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. Right? So he's mourning over Elisha not being well and being sick. Right? He says in verse 15, Elisha said unto him, take bow and arrows. And he took unto him bow and arrows. So prophets, they don't do it themselves. They'll have others do it as far as symbolic gestures, right? Have them say certain things, have them do certain things. And those actions are symbolic of a prophecy, something the Most High is going to have go down concerning them and concerning the times that they rule. So he's having to get these bows and arrows and they have them do something with them. Let's find out. 16, and he said to the king of Israel, put thine hand upon the bow. And he put his hand upon it. And Elisha put his hands upon the king's hands. He said, "Open the window eastward." And he opened it. Then Elisha said, "Shoot." And he shot, and he said, "The arrow of the Lord or Yahweh's deliverance, and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. Thou shalt smite the Syrians in Apec till thou have consumed them." Right? So the prophecy going into him what? Smiting the Syrians, we talked about before, the Aramites, and it mentions even the place they will fight at, this Apec, which I think is mentioned earlier on too. When you go back to First Kings, this particular city. When you go into the land of Syria, you'll see that region. In the region where they live, you'll find that city, Apec. Let me see this reference here. See if it lines up. First Kings 20. Yeah, so you can just reference this, but this is First Kings chapter 20. You can write verses 22 down to 27. Going to our past conflict that we had with the Syrians, this during the time of Ahab when he was still reigning, right? But you can read about us having that conflict, and you'll see a reference to that city, Apec, being made specifically in verse 26. We talk about Syria, and talk about uh, the region where they live. All right, so let's go back. Let's continue on. So this is Second Kings chapter 23. Sorry, chapter 13. And verse 17, now I'm in verse 18. 2 Kings 13 and 18. It says, "And he said, Take the arrows, and he took them, and he said unto the king of Israel, Smite upon the ground. And he smote thrice in states." You smote 3 times. Once again, more symbolic gestures, but now, what this mean? It says in verse 19, the man of God, talking about Elisha, was sick, was wroth with him, and said, Thou shouldest have smitten 5 or 6 times. Then hast thou smitten Syria till thou hast consumed it. Whereas now thou shalt smite Syria but thrice, or only 3 times. So apparently, if he'd have smitten the ground more, it would have been a righteous omen that what? He would have been in a position to fully dominate Syria, but it went down this way, showing that it would just be what do you call it? It would be a short-lived victory, unfortunately. But remember, it's not so much, because they only smote the ground All right, so just say something if I'm still locked up because I noticed I was locked on the screen, but I refreshed the browser, but the internet was still connected, so I'm not sure what happened there. But if you guys can see and hear, it's still awesome. If not, just to let us know in the chat. But now, 2 Kings 13 again. I just read 19 about him only smiting the ground thrice or 3 times, and then Elisha revealing that it was an omen showing that if he had smitten it more times, he would have utterly taken out the Syrians who were captive to at this time. But since he only did it a couple times, that wouldn't happen. So now in verse 20, 2 Kings 13 and 20, it reads, and Elisha died, and they buried him, and the bands of the Moabites invaded the land at the coming in of the year. So, bad news for our people when it comes to us and the other nations. We see that Elisha died. So just keep this in mind, right? Because even though we may do right by the Lord, doesn't mean that we're just impervious to illness or sickness. Even if we can die to an illness or sickness, it would be the Most High's will. Even if we do the right thing, right? It's not always a punishment from God. Sometimes it could just be a chastisement of God. The way I like to compare the two, punishment versus chastisement. Think of a chastisement, something the Most High will give you to improve you, to make you better, to make you more well-rounded. Whereas a punishment is just you going through something because of something you're saying or doing that's just off, and the punishment is warranted, right? So we'd rather be on the side of chastisement from the Lord as opposed to punishment from the Lord. With the chastisement, it's the Most High what? Trying to make you more well-rounded, trying to prove you to see if you can withstand different types of temptation and overcome. When you come out of it, not only your fruit of the Spirit are more mature, right? Like a tree that you're growing that is bearing fruits that withstand different weather, issues or soil issues, et cetera, et cetera. So think of the parable of the sower and the seed, kind of using that image to compare it to how we are when we are tempted and when we overcome. We're like that seed that overcomes the elements. See, as far as the Most having power over life and death, be you righteous or wicked, right? One verse that comes to mind is Deuteronomy, right? The Song of Moses. Deuteronomy chapter 32. In verse 39. Deuteronomy 32 in verse 39. You can link with verse 20. Deuteronomy 32 and 39, it reads, see now that I, even I, and he, there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive. I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Right? So, for good or bad, for our righteousness' sake, for our wickedness' sake, the Most High is the one that ultimately decides when it is our time to go, as well as when it is our time to born, or time to be born, rather. This links with 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 6. During Hannah's song, right? The mother of Samuel, our last judge, but she says the same. Sing this unto the Lord. But in 1 Samuel 2 and 6, it reads, The Lord, or Yahweh in the Hebrew, killeth and maketh alive. He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. It says in verse 7, the Lord, or Yahweh, maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. And it says in verse 8, he raised up the poor out of the dust, and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill, to set him among princes, to make them inherit the throne of glory. From the pillars of the earth are Yahweh's. He has set the world upon them. So everything's on the Most High's watch, right? He decides. Okay, so let's go back to 2 Kings 13. Let's read on in verse 21. So 2 Kings 13, verse 21, it says, and it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into the sepulchre of Elisha. When the man was let down, he touched the bones of Elisha. He revived and stood up upon his feet. So wow, check that out. So even though Elisha is dead, we see there's even power that's with his remains. I know we were just talking about this in the Tuesday class just passed. We're kind of going into Moses. It talks about at 120 years old how his eye didn't get dim, nor his natural fortitude abate. Just going into him as far as him being still in pristine physical condition, even though he gave up the ghost. And how, where the Bibles are going into too much detail about it, and we were saying how we could probably ask Christ about this in the kingdom. When we get there, Lord's will, hopefully we're part of that 1/3, we can ask Christ, what was the whole discussion? We could probably even ask Michael himself. Michael, what was that conflict you had with Satan? Why are you guys disputing over his body, right? He can give us the details on that. So we're just kind of checking that out on this past Tuesday, among some other stuff. But look at this man Elisha, right? Even his bones able to revive another man. So that's heavy stuff. That's a miracle, right? That's what we'll call supernatural, right? Above the natural course of things.
Man of God.
Exactly. So now, let's remember that verse as far as that being a miracle, 13:21. Elisha miracle, resurrection. I wonder how many days that person had after that, right?
Yeah, I can imagine how the man woke up. It's like, oh shoot, there's a dead man in here. Let me get out of here.
Mm-hmm. So reading on in verse 22, it says, but Hazael, king of Syria, oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoahaz. Right? So Syria is still a thorn in our side. Even the most I want to show his mercy. How could he let it disperse if the kings aren't following the right way? It says in 23, and the Lord, or Yahweh, was gracious unto them, and had compassion on them, and had respect unto them, because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and would not destroy them, neither cast he them from his presence as yet. Right? So his mercy still aboundeth, right? But even though his mercy abounded, look at what it says above. He had respect unto them, right? So we may read this, and we grew up in a so-called Christian church. We may say, well, hold on. I thought there's no respect of persons with God. Doesn't the law talk about not respecting persons in judgment? And we say, yes, that's true. The Bible talks about no respect of persons. But then the Bible also talks about how the Most High does respect nations, right? So show he doesn't respect persons in judgment as far as individuals, meaning he doesn't play favorites, like, oh, because of who you are, because of what you have, right? As far as how close you are to me and how much you may possess, I'm not going to judge you for breaking the law. And we're not supposed to do that, which means to not respect persons. We can go to Deuteronomy chapter 1. Make sure we don't get these two confused. Deuteronomy chapter 1. In verse 17. Once again, Deuteronomy chapter 1, in verse 17. Where it reads, "You shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great." Like we were saying before, whether you're rich or poor, famous or obscure, you should be heard out as far as judgment. You're not supposed to play favorites like we see in nowadays, right? The heathen, we see them play favorites. You know, if you're the head of a company or a famous person in Hollywood or the music industry, you see the judge can oftentimes just kind of go, didn't say it. They can turn a blind eye, as opposed to someone who's poor or not known. They can say, "Oh, who's this person? Whatever. Throw the book at him. I don't care." They maybe judge them according to righteous judgment. Most sides say don't do that when we rule. It's another example of many we can learn from the heathen as far as what not to do. So we see that every day at every level, whether it's the municipal level, state level, federal level, at least here in the States. You see it in other countries too, where they respect persons. The Most High said, don't do that. Let's see, let me just finish this up. I got you. So let's say you shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great. It says, you should not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God. So we're just a conduit for the Most High's judgment. This is the way it's supposed to be. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. You see? So when we touched on it, I think last time, as far as how the Most High told Moses, and he was trying to do it all, well, the Most High told Moses through his father-in-law, Jethro of Midian, look, you're trying to judge every matter, it's too much. Take your own people that are wise and have understanding and set them judges, right? And make them captains over thousands, captains over hundreds, over 50s, and over 10s. Let them deal with the smaller matters, and in the big matters, let them bring them to you, which, you know, obviously Moses is going to bring it to the Most High. If he can't handle it, or he's not familiar with how to make a decision on it. So remember that. We're reading that, we're referencing that not too long ago in Exodus 18. So this echoes that same sentiment. Yet and still, no matter what level we judge at, whether it's, you know, a small matter or a great matter, right? Let it be of God according to his judgment. And if it's too hard, bring it to the Most High, and then he'll give us that answer, which he does and which he has done through different means. When you read in the law, especially read about like how the Most High dealt with the sons of Aaron, with the Urim and the Thummim, to show them what to do. Even the Ark of the Covenant itself, during the time of Day of Atonement, the Most High will commune with us there, commune with us through the Urim and Thummim with the sons of Aaron, to show us certain things that might be beyond our reach.
Yeah, I just want to read 1 Samuel 8:3. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. This is Samuel's son.
What's that for? Why are you reading that?
They say not, pervert, judgment, but judge righteously.
Okay.
The sons was wicked.
That verse can actually come up again. For what we're going to read in verse 4, chapter 14, right? As far as their judgment versus Samuel's judgment.
People came against them.
When we get there, you'll see what I mean. What was that, Gabar?
The people came against Samuel for that, didn't they? Told his sons weren't doing the right things.
No, they came to him, I think, after that, asking for a king. Because I guess the thought was, oh, they want to be judges after you. He said, since they're going off, give us a king, right? So it was always something that was kind of in the makings. Even during the time of judges, it was a couple centuries of the judges where we didn't have a king. We didn't need one, and we're coming to realize that again, even in these times. We never needed a king. All we needed is the Most High and His law, right? Even Christ told us that. So we'll revisit this and learn this again and realize this in the kingdom going forward. But this is respect to persons. But now it says He would have respect unto Israel. So when it comes to nations, that's a little different. Let's show that. Put an Exodus now. So Exodus chapter 2, 23 to 25 to show the difference. Exodus chapter 2 and verse 23, and it reads, and it came to pass in the process of time, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. So we had the Pharaoh that knew Joseph, then the Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph that came after. They would become much more harsh with us, right? As the years would go on, for our 400 plus years in Egypt, right? To cry to God due to the harsh bondage we were put under when serving the Egyptians, right? Being forced to work under them and not being given the tools we need to do our jobs. And we'll get into that. You get into that in more detail as you go on in Exodus. Now, read on in verse 24, it says, and Power heard their groaning, and God remembered His covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So we read in 2 Kings. It says, and Power looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. See that? So remember, while the Most High does not respect persons, He does respect nations. And the verse you can use to show that He has respect unto Israel. So back in 2 Kings 13, I'll read it again in verse 23. It says, once again, 2 Kings 13 and 23. And Yahweh was gracious unto them and had compassion on them and had respect unto them because of His covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and would not destroy them, neither cast He them from His presence as yet. So Hazael, king of Syria, died, and Ben-Hadad, his son, reigned in his stead. We read about earlier. It says, and Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, took again out of the hand of Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael, the cities which he had taken out of the hand of Joash his father by war. 3 times did Joash beat him and recover the cities of Israel. See that? So it says 3 times did he recover the cities of Israel. So Moses was granting those 3 victories. Because why? Going back to verses 18 and 19, he smote the ground 3 times. He said, had you smitten it more times, you would have had more victories, right? Like I said, that being a symbolic gesture of how much the Most High was going to bless His hand as far as His favor towards him when it came to his fight, his battle against the Syrians. Kind of makes you think too of back in Exodus when you had Joshua go with the men to fight with Amalek in the valley, right? I think it was Rephidim. I'm not sure if that was the right valley. But you read about how Moses, as long as he had his hands up with his staff, that Joshua and the men fighting with him had the victory. But then as his arms kind of got weak from holding them up for so long, to kind of put them down, then we started to lose the battle. So then it says that Aaron and Hur went and got a rock from to sit on, and then they helped him up, keep his hands up to the end of the day. while his hands were up, then Joshua had the full victory against the Amalekites at that battle. So I think about that as far as we might have symbolic gestures, and those gestures will pretty much incur the Most High's favor or take it away. So very interesting how that works. So yeah, 13:25, you can link that with the verses 18 and 19. As far as him being given those arrows and then being told to smite the ground, to serve as symbolic gestures to show his victory against the Syrians. And we'll read the whole thing, but let's get that chapter for you guys real quick.
So he was supposed to shoot all the arrows on that?
Yeah, and smite the ground more than just those 3 times. They say smote thrice and then stayed. That's what we read in verse 18 and 19. The Exodus chapter 17, that was the reference I was making to earlier. It looks like it was, is that what it? Yeah, it was in that same valley. The Exodus chapter 17. We won't read it, but you just read that as a reference as far as having Moses hold his hands up. And as he held his hands up with the staff, we had the victory against Amalek. But then when he put his hands down, Amalek started getting the victory over us, and he got help, and they would win that whole battle against Amalek. It's funny because in that same place, I'm naming that place Jehovah Nissi, which if you go into the Hebrew, I think it's Yahweh Nasha, which means like Yahweh my banner. Yahweh is my banner. So it's like Moses holding up his hands was kind of symbolic of like the banner of the Lord being held up in order for us to prevail. So now we're in chapter 14 of 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 14 and verse 1. And I know I showed you guys number 62, which showed different events about Elijah and Elisha. But now let me see here. I was map number 62. But now you look at map number 65 here, which is on page 103 of that link I shared with you guys earlier in the chat. This number 65 is called Israel and Judah in the days of Jeroboam II and Uzziah. So we get to the end of 2 Kings 14. We're going to see what we're reading about here, Jeroboam II and this route that he's going to take. This black arrow pretty much going up from Samaria, going to Damascus, and then going further up. And then Uzziah, I think we'll get to him a bit later, not today, but he's coming up with this black arrow in particular. This is where the map is showing this cutout over there in what we now call the Middle East. So we see where Israel's land is. We see where Aram, or where the Syrians are, northeast of Israel. on the map when it comes to Jeroboam II. But let's read this and let's get that story in more detail. Like I said, Bible Atlas being one of our 7 tools we want to have as a Hebrew or Hebrew as we study the scriptures, because it helps us to kind of visualize what we're reading in the story. We can kind of see terrain and see different things as far as visualize what we read, try to picture it, try to understand it better. 2 Kings 14:1, it says, in the 2nd year of Joash, the son of Joahaz, king of Israel, reigned Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah. See that name Joash being shared amongst the lines, right? Because remember, it was we married into each other's bloodlines. You go into the marriages, right? As far as the king of Judah marrying one of the daughters of the king Ahab, and we go back into a 2 Kings. So name them after their uncle. So that's where during this time you see a lot of names being shared between the kings of the north and of the south. So it's good that they came together, but unfortunately not in righteousness. They were still dealing with wickedness and even tried to slay each other in some cases, like in the case of Queen Athaliah, right? After her son died. So, yeah. So now we're talking about King Amaziah, same we read about in verse 12 of chapter 13, right? So we're going to read about their fight that they had with each other. The king of the south, the king of the north. The king of the south, the king of Judah, the king of the north, or the king of Israel. It says this Amaziah was 25 years old and began to reign. He reigned 20 and 9 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoadan of Jerusalem. And it says in verse 3, and he did that which was, drumroll, right in the sight of the Lord. Right? Because we got right for once, because we've been reading evil, right? In the sight of the Lord. But then it says, yet not like David his father, right? So that's why he's not in that list in Ecclesiastes 49. He did according to all things as Joash his father did. Howbeit the high places were not taken away. As yet the people did sacrifice and burn incense on the high places. So he still allowed the high places. So it's just like, you gotta go hard or go home when it comes to the Most High. You gotta fully serve the Lord and make sure the people are doing the same. They'll see you following the Lord and go, oh, that's great. He's following the Lord. That's nice. But I was still want to go over here and do a Baal. Oh, he says there's no problem. He's not going to come down on us for doing that. All right, guess we'll keep going. So Most High sees that and it's just like recorded. Reading on in verse 5, it says, and it came to pass, as soon as the kingdom was confirmed in his hand, that he slew his servants, which had slain the king his father. Remember, we go back to chapter 12. We read this, right? Last time we were doing the service. As I was mentioning earlier, as far as Jehoash or Joash coming to an unfortunate end, right? So to link this with the 14 and 5, you can just go back real quick to 2 Kings chapter 12. And I'll just read the last couple of verses, 19 to 21. Just as a point of reference in case you forgot already. So 2 Kings 12, 19 to 21, it reads, and the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And his servants arose and made a conspiracy and slew Joash in the house of Millo, which goeth down to Silla. For Josachar, the son of Shimeath, and Jehozabad, the son of Shema, his servants smote him, and he died. And they buried him with his fathers in the city of David. And Amaziah, his son, reigned in his stead. That's what he's talking about when he said, all right, find those guys that killed my pop. We got to get them down. So back to 2 Kings 14. It says in verse 6, I'll read 5 again and then read 6. It came to pass, as soon as the kingdom was confirmed in his hand, that he slew his servants, which had slain the king his father. It says, but the children of the murderers he slew not, according unto that which is written in the book of the law of Moses, wherein the Lord commanded, saying, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children be put to death for their fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. That's why I was saying, 1 Samuel 8 and 3, that would have been perfect for this. I was thinking that verse for this verse, but I saw why you pulled it. So you don't have to read it again, but for what y'all can read earlier in 1 Samuel 8 and 3, we can think on that to where we can look to Samuel and go, yeah, we're sure that Samuel told them, showed them this is the way to be. But when you come of age, as a man or as a woman, you got to make your own choice, right? Now, of course, that falls on you as a father, as a mother, if you haven't even given your children the right example to even follow, right? But yet and still, you have to be judged for you, yourself, just as they have to be judged they themselves, right? So if you're showing your children the right way of righteousness, when they come of age and they still decide to go after other guys, what can you do at that point? At that point, it's their choice. But obviously, in the law, the Most High, what do you call it? He didn't look kindly kindly on that, to where the law is very specific as far as for children to grow up and the parents are telling them to do this and do that, and they're not doing it when it comes to righteousness. And he says they come of age and they become a drunk and or a glutton. And they've already dealt with them and brought them to the gates of the city, brought them to the elders. And the child still doesn't want to go the right way, and says we were supposed to put that child to death. Right? So, what does that tell you? Yeah, you can just write down Deuteronomy. This is referring to Deuteronomy chapter 24, and verse 16. The length with 14 and 5 of 2 Kings. Deuteronomy 24, 16. Yeah, because Samuel was remembered for his righteousness. But even though he was as righteous as he was, he had an awesome example. His kids still went off. That can happen, right? Even when you've said the right things, done the right things, given them warning, et cetera, that can still happen. We're reading about that on Tuesday class too, as far as someone had a question about strange incense. We're going into history in Numbers 10 concerning Aaron's two eldest boys, Nadab and Abihu, how they offer strange incense, but the Most High said not to do, and Most High consumed them right there with flames, and then told Aaron their immediate family to not mourn for them. Let the rest of Israel mourn for them, but you guys don't mourn. That's a tough deal. That being your flesh and blood, got to be immediate family, and the Most High tell you not to mourn, because he's pretty much letting them know, look, this office here, this is how serious I take it. So the two younger boys, Eleazar and Ithamar, they had that to look at and say, all right, let's make sure we don't go outside of the commandment. Let's make sure we carry forth the priest's office and do it righteously. So all the priests that will come about from Aaron will come to his two younger sons, Eleazar and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu had that record of offering the strange incense and being killed by the Lord directly. So it can happen that way. You got the father is righteous or the mother is righteous, but then the son or daughter that isn't. It can happen vice versa too. But in the end, like it says here, every man should be put to death for his own sin. So back in 2 Kings chapter 14, we linked up chapter 12, 19, and 21. Oh, sorry, that links with 14 and 6, not 14 and 5. So 14 and 5 links with 2 Kings 12, 19, 21. Deuteronomy 24, 16 links with Deuteronomy 24 and 16. So 14 and 6. Okay, so let's continue on. Verse 7. It reads in verse 7, he slew of Edom in the valley of Salt 10,000, and took Selah by war, and called the name of it Joktheel unto this day. So I think we saw some of that being depicted on the map I showed you earlier. We're going to go back and pause that and feel free to look at those details a bit further. I think I zoomed in enough here, but I'll just do it again in case you want to take a closer look. Let me see, I think that's on here. No, this is actually the king of Israel. I don't think this is on this map. Let me see. No, that's not on this map. Sorry about that. That's Jeroboam later on. So it says, he slew of Edom in the valley of Salt 10,000, and took Selah by war, and called the name of it Joktheel unto this day. Right? So that record of him taking out this, taking this city, and then slaying a large number of Esau for Edom. Right? Let's see. Let me get this yet. Wait. Yeah, can like this. So with 14 and 7, 2 Chronicles 25. We won't get too much from here because we'll get it again when we get to 2 Chronicles. But as far as King Amaziah, he's right down 2 Chronicles 25 and verses 11 and 12 to link with this 14 and 7. It goes to a little bit more detail as far as how we dealt with them. It reads in 2 Chronicles 25 and verse 11. Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people. He went into the valley of Salt and slew of the children of Seir 10,000. Right? So here it says the children of Seir. Seir being the mountain named for or associated with Esau since it was in his land. Right? It says, and other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive and brought them unto the top of the rock and cast them down from the top of the rock. They were broken in pieces. Wow. We'll add a detail there as far as us giving it to Edom. Because remember what Isaac told Esau, right? Isaac told Esau what? By the sword thou shalt live. Going to them, being a warlike people, which they are, right? We see that in their spirit even to this day. That it says, you shall serve your brother. So this is still the time when they were still under us. They hadn't come to their glory as of yet. Then he tells them that what? There shall come a time we shall break the yoke from off his neck. In other words, Esau will break the yoke we put on him. So we were still a sovereign nation at this point, and we had Esau and the other nations captive at different times, but was kind of off and on depending on how well we did as far as righteousness. Since we did more wickedness to righteousness, oftentimes these captivities we would have over the nations would be short-lived, right? We can always reflect back on our golden age in particular, which was during the reign of David, going into the reign of Solomon, right? When we pretty much had our best and strongest. And then we had some good notes during the time of Hezekiah and then during Josiah as well. Even though you had other nations that were rival nations that had power. It wasn't a full court dominance that we had. But back in 2 Kings 14, I'm thinking about, y'all can probably remember this from that movie 300, right? Where what do you say? He had him at the edge of the cliff. He said something like, was it part where he said they look thirsty? And he's like, let's give them something to drink. Or is it something about, I forget what part it was. He had him at the edge of the cliff. And they just kept pushing him. And it's like, oh.
So people would read it now and say, "Oh, that's so cruel and this and that." And it's like, and you ask them, who are those people?
Yeah.
They white.
See, Esau had to make it, like, oh, the Spartans. There'd never been warriors like the Spartans. Look at them. Oh, wow. It's just like, you weren't the first, right? It was your time to shine. That's why, Esau likes to hone in on the Greeks and Romans. Like, look, the Greeks and Romans, look how great they are. That's when they began to be top dog. But you have many nations that were top before them, including us, right? But anytime they depict those other kingdoms, they also depict them, like there's something wrong with them, or they were weird, or something, because they always want to tell their story a certain way. But ain't that most of the history with these nations? At least for us, the good, the bad, the ugly, it's all here when it comes to the scriptures, right? Whereas other nations, they oftentimes like to sugarcoat their history or talk past certain parts of the history that they don't want to really address. Like the Egyptians did it with the Great Humiliation, they called it, when you had the Shepherd King take power, right? Or in more recent times, the Japanese, they'll go into Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and well, they should, as far as the harsh retaliation that they received from Esau from World War II. They won't go into all the time. They won't go into that detail about the atrocities they committed in China and other parts of Southeast Asia when they were spreading out, right? Like the rape of Nanking and things like that. They'll talk about it, but they'll kind of, won't really want to address it hardcore as far as what they were doing over there in the Far East. They were spreading out too, kind of like how Germany was in parts of Europe. As they referred to in history, the Axis powers, right? The Axis, right? Japan, Germany, and Italy. They're called the Axis. It's supposed to be the bad guys, and yet the Allies were the good guys, Like, going back, you look at it, was anybody good in that? Or was it just evil versus evil? But anyway. Back to 2 Kings chapter 14. In verse 8, it says, Then Amaziah sent messengers unto Jehoash, the son of Joahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let us look one another in the face. That's funny, huh?
That's a threat right there.
What's the, yeah, pretty much, you say face me, right? We'll say that. Sometimes we'll do, we talk about, certain competition, athletics, then you raise the stakes, you talk about it in warfare context, right? It says, and Jehoash, the king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give thy daughter to my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon and trode down the thistle. So like a little story, a little riddle, right? going into their past alliance, but now it looks like this thing's starting to go away or wear away. Thou hast indeed smitten Edom, and thine heart hath lifted thee up. Glory of this, and tarry at home, right? So be happy about the victory you had with Edom, right? Don't get too, don't get too rah, right? Stay home. For why shouldest thou meddle to thy hurt, that thou didst fall, even thou and Judah with thee? Which, yeah, it's a counter threat, but there's some truth to that. Just, don't face Israel. just chill. Be at peace. Don't come see me face to face. Don't come see me, right?
I'm sometimes international. National. Israel versus Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Israel killing Israel. I'm like, it's a conflict.
But it's history, right? It's what we did. It's the two sticks, right, that are apart. It's what Ezekiel, the vision Ezekiel said, right? He said, take these two sticks and break them apart. One for Ephraim, one for Judah, right?
Is this Judah? Yeah, both of them are Judah?
No. That's the king of Israel and the king of Judah.
Oh.
Verse 9.
Oh.
It's Jehoash, king of Israel, said to Amaziah, king of Judah.
Oh. Just get it.
North versus south.
North versus south. Okay.
That's what I was saying earlier about talking about it's going to be at the end of the chapter, but us beefing with each other.
North versus south.
Or worse in this case.
And nobody can come in and say, need it.
No one's got to be. Ooh, that was a whole Michael Jackson was talented, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's funny. What's the other one too? Bad with Wesley Snipes, the black and white. We had him in the alley.
Was that Wesley
He said,
Snipes?
"You ain't nothing."
That was Wesley Snipes?
I believe so. Yeah.
I gotta look at that again.
Yeah.
He wasn't that popular then.
No, he was popular around that.
Was he?
He was a big star. It was like him and Denzel. They all broke out around those early '90s.
Oh, okay.
I think first it was like the Spike Lee movies, and they started doing like the mainstream movies. I mean, Spike Lee was kind of mainstream too. They did the Spike Lee stuff. Like, was it Mo Better Blues when we did that together?
Oh,
Then they started doing their own like flicks, as far as like the dramas and political thrillers. So, Denzel was like all like the lawyer movies, stuff like that, certain action movies. And Wesley Snipes was like we had a joke. It's called Black Ryan instead of Jack Ryan. The Tom Clancy movies. And like he's pretty much like Harrison Ford was in those movies. Like was it Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games. He was like that for Judah.
I'm thinking about West Side Story. Was it white versus Hispanic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The casting was something else. Esau, but it's supposed to be Northern Tribe.
Say what?
It's supposed to be Northern Tribe, but the casting was Esau a lot of times, like that for the movie.
Oh, it's supposed to be. Okay.
Esau, pretend to be Hispanic.
Yeah, they always pretended, ain't they?
Just play it cool, boys. Real
Oh!
cool.
Oh.
You guys take me back. We're making movie references. We were talking about this too not too long ago in the Tuesday class. I remember I was saying how we watched the movie, we had to play some songs from that in band back in middle school. West Side Story.
Is that the Latin King versus the Bloods or something, right?
I think I'm not sure they're supposed to be, but I know they were the Jets and the Sharks. I think those are the gang names in the
Not that much, like nowadays,
play.
like in the 80s and stuff.
So yeah, so back to 2 Kings 14. Thanks for the pop culture references. It says, I'll read it again. Verse 10, Thou hast indeed smitten Edom, and thine heart hath lifted thee up. Glory of this, and tarry at home. Why shouldst thou meddle to thy hurt, that thou shouldst fall, even thou and Judah with thee? But Amaziah would not hear. So because he saw that as like, are you trying to call me out? Huh? All right, I gotta see your face now. Therefore, Joab, king of Israel, went up, and he and Amaziah, king of Judah, looked one another in the face at Bethshemesh, which belongeth to Judah. And Judah was put to the worst before Israel, and they fled every man to their tents. So really tried to send Judah packing, sent the southern kingdom packing. So Judah, Benjamin, Levi got their tails beat on this one.
Because
The southern kingdom took an L here.
they're more, like all of that.
Yeah, but even still, Mosai could have still had to give us the victory.
Yeah.
I don't, we that doesn't matter as far as total numbers. So yeah, sent Judah packing, man. The southern kingdom packing. It says, Judah was put to the worst before Israel, and they fled every man to their tents. And Joash, king of Israel, took Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, at Beth Shemesh. Shamash. What's Shamash? That's son, right? Or is that Shemaiah? Because that means house of something, right? What's that name? What's Beth Shemesh mean? House of something? And came to Jerusalem and break down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim unto the corner gate 400 cubits. Check it out. So they even took it a step further and said, yeah, we're going to come to Jerusalem and break down the wall. It says, and took all the gold and silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of Yahweh, and the treasures of the king's house, and hostages, and returned to Samaria. Damn. So they came on a home court turf, our home court, broke open the wall and took hostages and spoils. So
because the northern kingdom had Samaria as a capital,
right.
They didn't want to go to Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm. Which, going back to 1 Kings 12, we got time before we close out. We'll read that as far as the reasons behind why he did what he did. At least what we read, and then what that led to. But now reading on in verse 15, it says, now the rest of the acts of Jehoash, which he did, and his might, and how he fought Amaziah, king of Judah, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah, which Second Chronicles 25, we reference a one verse from there, but you go to that whole chapter, it talks into that. But we'll read the whole thing that's there for the sake of time. We'll get that again. We'll get into Chronicles in the Sabbath service. It says, and Jehoash slept with his fathers and was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. And Jeroboam, his son, reigned in his stead. This is the map I was showing you. This is the Jeroboam II. I showed it to you kind of early. But that black arrow was going up. That was we're about to read here. This Jeroboam, son of Jehoash. So they brought that name back. So I'm going to name my son after the great Jeroboam, the first ruler of the north.
The sins of Jeroboam.
If you guys like Game of Thrones, you thought about Game of Thrones, the TV show. King of the North. Long live the King of the North. So we had our own King of the North, which was the King of the Northern Kingdom. The first one being I couldn't say Jeroboam. Right. Rehoboam was king of the south. Right?
Oh.
He was over the United Israel until him and Jeroboam was one of Solomon's princes broke off, and that's where the split.
They want to beat him with scorpions.
Right.
I'm
My father chastised him with scorpions. Exactly.
He said a speech like that. That's terrible. He beat you with whip. I'm gonna beat you with. Yeah, that's terrible.
You see it? We just read that too. Here's this little trash talk.
Yeah.
Come meet me face to face, boy. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, all right. Sure you want to do that? You see, even got news. He's like, look, y'all beat Edom. That's nice. Enjoy that. Stay home. Don't come out. Don't come out the face.
Let me controversy. But they said that country, wherever that country was, it belonged to Judah anyway. The one that they were going to fight for.
Well, who's in the south? which was Edom, which was underneath Judah.
There was a particular land that they said that was Judas. So like you said, the old South was Judas.
I'm not sure what city that was.
All right,
Face to face. Stay home.
Yeah, said, don't come out here. Enjoy your victory, enjoy your success.
I think with Edom, I think one of them escaped. One of the youth escaped, if I remember.
Yeah, that was early on, First Kings.
First Kings.
Remember? His name was Hadad. It was Hadad. You had this guy called Rezin from Syria, and you had Jeroboam. It was like the three that you read about that the Most High raised up because of Solomon's transgression. Now, remember, it will still be peace during Solomon's days, but then he raised them up and kind of allowed them to flee out of Solomon's hand. And Rehoboam had inherited that problem. As you get the split, you know. You had Hadad, who was pretty much nurtured by Egypt until, you know, you remember King of Egypt wouldn't stay. Because remember, he married his daughter and everything. He said, Hadad, stay with us. And Hadad was like, I can't stay forever. I got to go back to my people. Right?
and the white boy.
Yeah. He said, no, he said, stay here, stay with us. He said, I got to go back to my people. You know, even though he married him to his daughter. Because Hadad was, I think, one of the nobles of Edom, one of their dukes or whatever. You go into that history.
Okay.
And in Rezin, he was the guy who rose up, who was the head over the Syrians, regular Syrians. So you read about those three guys. He rose up. That's in 1 Kings 11, chapter 4:12, right? We read that in the Sabbath some months ago. But back in 2 Kings 14, verse 17 now. Look who's here. Look who's here. It says, Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Jehoash, son of Jehoash, king of Israel, 15 years. It says, and the rest of the acts of Amaziah are they written in the book of Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. It says, now they made a conspiracy against, I'm in verse 19 then. Now they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish, but they sent after him to Lachish, and they slew him there. So that was that little black arrow you saw in that map. Him trying to, oh no, that was sorry. I keep saying this. I want to say that that was Jeroboam II. That wasn't King Azariah. I mean Amaziah. So it says once again, now they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish, and he slew them there. And they brought him on horses, and he was buried at Jerusalem with his fathers in the city of David. So, man, so I guess after catching that taking that L on the battlefield, they said, yeah, we gotta get him up out of here. So that's kind of wild. But once again, it was like, could this have been avoided? Probably. Would he have had a longer reign? Sure. But sometimes it's how the cookie crumbles, right? So here's a link with 14 and 19. Let's get this real quick link to 2 Chronicles 25. Because I don't have us reading that whole chapter, but let's get the reference. 2 Chronicles chapter 25. Second Chronicles 25. I'm just going to read the last two verses. Okay. All right. I'll read above. I'll read it swiftly. I'll read above it too. But then I'll go back to Second Kings. Like I said, I don't want to spoil too much before we get to Second Chronicles. Second Chronicles 25. I'm going to start from 17, and then we'll read down. Just to kind of do a similar recap of what we just read in 2 Kings 14. So Second Chronicles 25 and 17 reads, Then Amaziah, king of Judah, took advice and sent to Joash, son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let us see one another in the face. And Joash, the king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give a daughter to my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trode down the thistle. Thou sayest, Lo, thou hast spit in the Edomites, and thy heart lifted thee up to boast. Abide now at home, why shouldst thou meddle to thine hurt? That thou shouldst fall, even thou and Judah with thee. Right? So once again, getting that same little riddle and saying, yeah, you know who's who in this little riddle I gave, right? Why are you going to try to come at us? You know, be happy with your victory against Esau, Edom. But Amaziah would not hear, for it came of God that he might deliver them into the hand of their enemies, because they sought after the gods of Edom. So you're thinking, oh, because they want to serve the false gods, that
That's why the northern kingdom beat them.
I could definitely see it being a factor for sure. For it came of God that he might deliver them into the hand of their enemies, because he sought to the gods of Edom. Yeah. So verse 21. So Joash, the king of Israel, went up, and they saw one another in the face, both he and Amaziah, king of Judah, at Bethshemesh, which belonged to Judah. So maybe that was the city you were talking about?
Yeah. That's right.
22. And Judah was put to the worst before Israel, and they fled every man to his tent. And Joash, the king of Israel, took Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Bethshemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. We read that too in 2 Kings. And he took all the gold and the silver and all the vessels that were found in the house of God with Obed-Edom. Oh man, see, he didn't mention Obed-Edom, right? Or red servant. Because when we go into Obed-Edom, remember that was the place, that was a threshing floor. I think one of the Jebusite was in that same region, if I'm not mistaken. And the treasures of the king's house, the hostages also returned to Samaria. And it reads, And Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, 15 years. And the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, are they not written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? Now, after the time that Amaziah did turn away from following the Yahweh, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent to Lachish after him, slew a man, and they brought him upon horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. So once again, like you can't emphasize enough, it pays to serve the Lord and to wholly follow the Lord God of Israel. Otherwise, this is what can happen. You lose favor with the Lord. To where even someone else that may be not righteous either, he'll still allow them to have victory over you. Just like the Most High has nations take us over, he allowed, between tribes, one tribe take over another tribe for their own wickedness. Doesn't mean that the Northern Kingdom still have to answer however they did, of course. But we see we had to catch that L right there. And then we got the reasoning behind it too. So yeah, with 2 Chronicles 25, 17 and 24, then I read 25 down to the end, which was the last verse was, I think, 27. Let's back in 2 Kings. Let's go back to 2 Kings 14. Let's read on in 21. 2 Kings 14 and 21 reads, And all the people of Judah took Azariah, which was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father Amaziah. Just got that mixed up right there. It says, this Azariah, you'll see it's spelled Uzziah too as well. So anytime you see Uzziah, we won't get those mixed up. Mm-hmm.
Like the one that touched the ark.
Right, which we're not going to get into today, but we will read that I think next time we go into Kings, if I'm not mistaken. If not the next king, the one after that. But it says he built Elath and restored it to Judah, and after that the king slept with his fathers. Right. And if you want a reference to this city as well, from verse 14 and 22, you just make a link to link this with 1 Kings. First Kings chapter 9, 26 down to 28. Here it's called Elah, it's referring to the same place. It's a place that Solomon had set up. I believe it was set up as a trade post, a city that was a trade post, as it was by the Red Sea. So you just write down 1 Kings chapter 9, 26 to 28. Where it reads, King Solomon made navy of ships, in Ezion Eber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon, and they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold 420 talents. He brought it to King Solomon. So it mentions them being set up with Hiram, who was the king of Tyre at that time, right? All right, so reading on, it says in verse 23, in the 15th year of Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, so we're going back in time again before he died. Jeroboam the second, the son of Jehoash, the king of Israel, began to reign in Samaria and reigned 41 years. He had a pretty long reign. Drum roll, 24. He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Not good. He departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Here we go. So 14:24 also. Go back. We have 2 Kings 13:6 and 13:11. The link with 1 Kings 12:25 to 33, which we'll probably finish off with. But yeah, 14 and 24 linked with that too.
So like, oh, this is Jeroboam 2, right?
No, 24 is talking about Jeroboam 1. Just at the son of Nebat. Just going back to 1 Kings again. Remember? So it says in verse 25, he restored the coast of Israel from the entering of Hamath. See, 23 is talking about Jeroboam II. When it says he did that with his evil in the sight of the Lord and depart out from all the sins of Jeroboam, that's Jeroboam the first. Got it? So 25, it says this is Jeroboam the second again, right? Restored the coast of Israel from the entering of Hamath into the sea of the plain, according to the word of the Lord, the high power of Israel, which he spake by the hand of his servant Jonah, the son of Amittai the prophet, which was of Gath-hepher. So, as you saw on that map I showed you guys earlier in the Zion Bible Dictionary, it shows the kings, also shows the prophets that are contemporary with them, and getting now into Jonah, the prophet Jonah, that is famous for getting swallowed by the whale. It's referring to that same figure and being contemporaries with these kings at this time. And we'll see that as we go through the kings. Certain prophets be made mention of. Some actually have their own books. Others may not. But for the major ones, obviously, we'll see they'll have a book associated with them. Yeah, it's the same Jonah, book of Jonah. It says in verse 26, "For Yahweh saw the affliction of Israel, that it was very bitter, that there was not any shut up, nor any left, nor any helper for Israel. And Yahweh said, not that he would blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, but he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, the son of Joash." So he's going to use them as a means to use him, this ruler, as a means to save them from this affliction that was very bitter, which we probably not going to go into too much super detail today. We'll read about it as we go on in the Kings and in the Chronicles. He says in 28, "Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam and all that he did, and his might, how he warred, now he recovered Damascus and Hamath, which belongeth unto Judah, for Israel. Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel?" So another reference being made to Second Chronicles. Once again, we'll get to that at a later point. So it mentions Hamath in the south. It even mentions Damascus as well, as far as the conflict that we have with Syria, that being their capital city. Even though we were adjacent to them, we were like neighbors. But because of the wickedness of past kings, when new kings would come in, Yahweh time had a choice to either carry on that fight and lose, or carry on that fight and win. And they were able to win or lose depending on how the Most High judged them as far as their actions and behavior, as far as how the Most High wanted to dispense his mercy or not. It says, "And Jeroboam slept with his fathers, even the kings of Israel, and Zechariah his son reigned in his stead." So now Zechariah is going to be the next rule we read about coming after Jeroboam. But we chapter 15, we're going to read about a couple other things pertaining to Jeroboam. This Jeroboam being Jeroboam the second on that list when it comes to the line of kings going forward. Yeah, so Second Chronicles 26, I'll get more into detail as well from what we're going to read in 2 Kings 15. And we touched on it, 2 Kings 15, and we read about in 14 concerning the next king of Judah, but we'll touch on that next time we go into the kings. But real quick, let's go back to 1 Kings 12. Let's just read that history real quick about Jeroboam the first. And what he did, if you don't remember, just as a review, when it talks about him causing the people to sin. So back in 1 Kings chapter 12, start from 25 and we'll read to the end. So 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 25. So once again, we're going back in time, but I just want to read this because we saw a reference to him being made. Pretty much every time we have a king of Israel being mentioned and him going evil, it'll always call back to this history of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. This Jeroboam the first. This Jeroboam we're reading about here in 2 Kings is the second of his name. This one being the first of his name, as far as kings go anyway. 1 Kings 12:25, it says, Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and dwelt out from thence, and built Penuel. Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord, or Yahweh, Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again to their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah. And they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah. This was a thought, since we know this was the time of the split, which was prophesied, but now this is a thought that Jeroboam is having to himself, but is it rightly according to God? As we're going to see, he's going to come up with a wicked conclusion as far as how to address this issue. And it's kind of messed up because you might think to yourself, well, man, the Most High could have dealt with Jeroboam and dealt with him and built him up. You know what I mean? We could have had a name of Israel that might have been set by a righteous example. Now, we still have to speak to what his sons would do after him, right? But he could have had a righteous legacy. But once again, like others, he started off well, but then he thinks of doing this. We're about to read. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Because remember, he didn't want to lose square influence over the tribes he had command over. And remember, the coup was fresh as far as the split between them. This is not too far along after the what you just quoted earlier, Gabar, as far as the my dad chastised you with whips. Guess what? I'm gonna chastise you with scorpions. You thought he was bad. I'm about to turn it up on y'all.
Yeah, that's crazy. We'll have to say something like that.
And it tells that Rehoboam had an entourage. These guys weren't too wise. So that's kind of part of their suggestion too.
That was the young boys that he was hanging out with.
Yeah. He said, listen, this is what you tell, all right? Trust me, it's going to work out. This is what you tell these guys, all right? And after that, it said, to your tents, O Israel. That's when you see them split. You know what I'm saying?
He wouldn't listen to the old heads. He wouldn't listen to the young boys.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants to live that life as King Solomon lived,
Yeah, which he had, but, like I say, he blew it. And they both blew it in this sense, as far as we're going to read about concerning Jeroboam. Check this out. Made 2 calves of gold and said to them, It's too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. What a dark idea. What is a bright idea? What a dark idea to go back to that part of history. Exodus 32, right? We read that part of history and it's kind of like a facepalm when we read that. Especially where Israel going, oh man, how could we do that? And then we say to ourselves, man, was I one of those people out there back then? Was I one of those folks dancing? I hope I wasn't, because that was our ancestors. That may have been us back then, We don't know who was who.
Well, it was Northern Kingdom.
It was all the tribes. Talking about Exodus 32 in the wilderness. We were all there back then.
Yeah.
It was all the tribes. And Moses was like, who's on the Lord's side?
Oh, yes.
And they say, 3,000 Levites go on Moses' side. Like, what's up, Moses? Moses was like, fall on them. I was like, woo! God damn.
No mercy.
But we earned it, man. You always just hope and pray, like, man, my previous life, was I serving idols? Was I acting a fool? And I repented later, or was I always serving the Lord? Hopefully I was always a righteous brother, a righteous sister. But sometimes, in the world, it's a temptation, right? You go to those like trans mediums to talk to spirits. They'll say, you want to do past life connection? We'll talk about your past life. Like, I want to learn about my past life. It's like, you may not want to learn about your past life.
The movie Gladiator.
Just be focused on what you're doing right now, What happened?
knowing this in Gladiator, am I not merciful?
Uh-huh.
No mercy.
Oh, as far as Moses and his 3,000, I think it said 3,000 Levites, right?
No mercy. They ugly, old and young.
But yeah, man,
And that was the only people who stepped up with Moses, to the Levites.
that's what the scriptures mention.
So you mean all other tribes was serving these idols, and when Moses came back, they still stayed. But some of them other tribes made it out, else it wouldn't be no other tribes.
Yeah.
So the Levites didn't kill everybody.
Yeah,
They killed the ones that really was into the idols.
Right.
Else it wouldn't be no more tribes except the Levites.
Yeah, if everybody was doing it, of course, yeah.
But I remember what Aaron said, right?
The Levites just stepped up to murder people.
Execute.
Execute, okay, right.
Because punishable by death. So
Kill, right, yeah.
You remember what Aaron said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gave us, they paid pressure me. They gave me all this gold. I put it in a fire, and out came this calf. Like, did the cat just make itself? Just put the gold in the fire, and then boom, a calf.
Yeah.
See what happened was
right.
Pressure.
That's our people, man.
Yeah, Israel like a mob sometimes, man.
Yeah. They get together on some foolishness. Oh man, it's a force to reckon with. You know, Aaron, he's flesh too. You know, he's righteous. You know, he has the line of Aaron from his loins, but you know, even he was like, yo, man. You know, but let's let our righteousness and our wickedness be weighed in the balance, right? You know, we've all had our moments, right?
They say, crucify him, right? Let his blood be upon us and our children. Right? Who said that?
Mm-hmm. So it says, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. You're talking about some of the Gospels?
Yeah. In the gospel, when they say crucify him, because some of people were like mobs, you know.
Oh, okay. That's what you mean. Okay. So yeah, behold, that God of Israel brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Verse 29, it says, and he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. So Bethel, you look on the map, was like in the middle, in the south of the kingdom of Israel, like in the middle of the whole land before the split. And then Dan was high up in the north. So pretty much wherever you were at in Israel, you had a an embassy you can go to where the golden calf was, you know. Or like, I'm trying to go to a DMV close to me to renew my license, you know. They go over here to get my worship in with the calf.
Two destinations, one near you.
Yeah, or like when we had cities of refuge, which were for righteousness' sake, right? We had 3 on the river, one on the east of Jordan and 3 on the west. So if you had to go to a city of refuge due to a situation you kill somebody by accident, you were close enough to at least one, no matter where you lived at. You know what I mean? So he did the same thing before for wicked practice of serving a golden calf. It says, and this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. He made an house of high places and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah, right? So after the time of the tabernacle, right? The next month.
Oh, that's good.
The 8th month and the 15th day. I'll even keep track of it. You guys probably remember me in classes or services. I'll mention it. If that day comes up, I'll say, hey, sad Jeroboam's day, everybody. Sad Jeroboam's. I'm like, sad Jeroboam, what's that? I don't remember. I remember one year too. The 8th month, the 15th day lined up with All Hallows Eve, what they call Halloween. It was actually on the same day as Halloween. I said, oh boy, yikes. Sad day, you know, for more than one reason this time. So it says, that is in Judah, and he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and he placed in Bethel a priest of the high places which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel, 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart. He ordained a feast. That's what we just say. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not upon thine own understanding, right? This was Jeroboam's own understanding to set this up. And he offered upon the altar and burnt incense. So everything that's done here obviously is corrupt, given the why this was being done, right? I'm sure it was probably could have been other ways around him being worried about them going down to serve in Jerusalem, right? I'm sure you could have got some sons of Aaron, did something in the seas of refuge. So okay, here's how we'll keep the holy days, not to set up a totally wicked, day to serve a false god, right? This could have been handled other ways, I'm sure.
Yeah, because God had already promised him the kingdom as long as you promise him have the kingdom, as long as he did his law, statute, commandment.
Exactly.
The prophet already told him that when he ripped his skirt in the field. So
Exactly.
he didn't have to do that. He just still had him.
Exactly.
Set up some golden calves. Like when he left Egypt. That's deep.
Yeah. Speaking of which, since we had a question about it, when we go to Exodus 32.
Yeah, first thing is chapter 13. See what happened.
So Exodus 32, I'll jump right to it, verse 25. So Exodus 32 and verse 25, it says, and when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies. Right? If you use this verse to go into, when it says in Genesis they were naked, it wasn't talking about them physically not having clothes on. It was talking about naked as far as transgression. Right? So it's like a metaphor. It's like the circumcise the foreskin of your heart. Putting on clothes can also be looked at as putting on spiritual clothes, as far as wearing righteousness. Cross-reference Isaiah 52 and 1. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, who was on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him. He said unto them, thus saith Yahweh, power of Israel, put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, every man his companion, every man his neighbor. And the children of Israel, the children of Levi, did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men. So my bad, it was 3,000 that fell. It doesn't really say how many they were of Levi. For Moses had said, consecrate yourselves today to Yahweh, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that ye may bestow upon you a blessing this day. It came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, ye have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto Yahweh. Peradventure, I shall make an atonement for your sin. And Moses returned to Yahweh and said, oh, these people have sinned a great sin and have made them gods of gold. Yet now thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book, which thou hast written. So Moses, as they would say, he's a real one, right? Put himself on the line for our wickedness' sake, right? Because he needed to do that, right? Because you read previously in the chapter, Most High was like, listen, I'm done with these guys. I'm going to make you a nation. And Moses been like, oh, Lord, please don't do that, but let your will be done. And he agreed with the Most High, who will be the Hebrew Mosesites. You read previously in this chapter, the Most High said, I'm about to make a nation out of you. You would have been the tribe of Moses.
Moses.
So thank the Most High. Thank the Most High for Moses and his meekness, his humility. Because he definitely was our advocate in this regard. Saying, Most High, please don't do this. Please don't do this. How's it going to look to the nations? You freed your people, let them out in the wilderness just to kill them. That's earlier up in the chapter. But anyway. And Yahweh said to Moses, whosoever that sinneth against me, him will I blot out of my book. Therefore now go, lead the people into the place of which I have spoken to thee. Behold, my angel shall go before thee. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit, I will visit their sin upon them. And Yahweh plagued the people because they had made the calf which Aaron made. See that? There's that record there. Aaron made it. Ah, no. Shoot. Yeah, in the verses above 24, that's when Aaron has his explanation. Like, you guys are joking. See what happened was. That was a wild day, man.
Reflection.
You can't leave these people of Israel truth alone very long. They go astray.
See, I just read Exodus 32, 25 to 35, which connects with 1 Kings 12, 25 to 33. But we'll make an end here. Like I said earlier, look towards us reading about those next kings, Azariah or Uzziah, as well as Jeroboam II. We come back to Kings a couple weeks from now. Next week, we're going to be back in the New Testament again. And if I'm not mistaken, we finished 1 John. I think we only have two more to go in John. If we're not finished the letters of John, we might be in Revelations. Let's see. Okay, not yet. So let's see here. So we're going to be reading 1 John chapter 5, which is the last chapter, and also 2 John verse 1, which is 2 John chapter 1. So 2 John is one chapter. So pretty much 1 John chapter 5 and all of 2 John is going to be next Sabbath reading, which will be the 10th of August. Sorry if I said that kind of crazy. So 1 John chapter 5, last chapter of 1 John, and 2 John, the whole 2 John, because it's one chapter. That's going to be next week. And also remember, tonight we're going to be having the fifth new moon service tonight. So make sure that you guys are there for that. Most times we'll start early so that we can wrap up early so that we can feast and parlay and partake, etc. So look forward to that new moon service tonight. Next week, once again, 1 John 5 to 2 John chapter 1, which is 2 John. And we'll do the housekeeping real quick, just as a reminder before we close out. So as you'll see in the bottom, our teleconference is every Tuesday and Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. The number is 667-770-1085. Access code 521-455 to listen in over the phone. And then if you want to watch us, there's this website you can go to. Is make sure on your phone, tablet, or laptop or desktop, you have Zoom downloaded, and you go to this website, profitabletalks.com, profitabletalks.com, no spaces, profitabletalks.com, to watch us and to attend the class that way. And if anyone wants to send donations to the school, either for tithes or free will offerings, what have you, our address is below, as you can see, Ha Yashar Alakanas, spelled the same way you see that man. The address being 3826 B as in boy, Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19140. That's our address, and Ha Yashar Alakanas, HAYASHARAHLA, and then Kanas, KANAS. And if you didn't want to send a check or money order to that address, you can also do it online through paypal.me/HYK12, or you could Zelle your tithe or frugal offering or offering for holiday or what have you at 646-620-7378. Once again, 646-620-7378. Please like and share the video so we continue to get the word out to 12 tribes of Israel that have been scattered throughout the Americas and the Caribbean, as well as other parts of the world. Let's continue this branch of Christ, other branches of Christ, and help them to continue to grow as we get closer and closer to that day when Christ makes his second coming. right? And as you can see, it's hard for us to escape it. Anytime we turn on the news, do whatever medium we use, we can see the prophecies come to pass, from mudslides to fires to earthquakes to rising wars and conflict over resources, right? Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which today you might say ethnicity against ethnicity and nation against nation. Because when we say in the Bible nations, we're talking about ethnicities or nations. We say kingdoms, we're talking about, today they call it nationalities, right? I mean, I come from the nation of this, I mean, that's the king that you're under, right? A government ruled by a king or queen, or a president, or a prime minister, et cetera, or a chancellor. All right. So with that, we'll say Ashar Shabbat, also Rakateha by Shemi Hawashah, by Ruchat Kodash. Without them, none of this would be possible for us or any other branches of Christ. I want to thank all the brothers and sisters who attended either in person, on live stream, or over the phone. Hopefully you were edified during today's lesson. And if you have any other questions or comments, feel free to bring them into the weekly classes that are Tuesdays and Fridays, as we shared earlier, the times as well as the ways to attend. Okay. So Shar Shabbat once again, Wa Manachal Tawab, which means good afternoon. And with that, we'll do the closing prayers. Most of us will see everybody tonight for the 5th new moon service. So Shalom Yasharal, stay in the spirit. Barak Yahweh by Shemi Hawashai, Asherah, Thana, Paria, Gabin, Thwada, Aman. La Yahweh by Shemi Hawashai, Yasherah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa, Panyawa, Yerusham, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Babakushai, Shemai, Lanawa, Aita, Yem Yem, Aita, Shalak, Micah Allah, Wa Allahayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shema Ayel, Barak, Rapah, Magan, wa Chazayat, Banya, Yash'ala, wa Shalak, Lanawa, Rabian, Kakama, Rabian, Da'ith, Rabian, Bayana, Rabian, Sabalanwa, Rabian, Amawan, Rabian, Aqua, Rabian, Ahabian, Rabian, Agana, Rochanaya, Wasalak, Ko, Katsayanawa, La Akim, Wa Akiwa, Wayasha'ala, Tamyad, Waiwalam, Basham, Yahawashad, the water, Aman. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now. Right now, send Michael and the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel, and send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins. For the brothers, sisters in Israel, always and forever, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Four corners prayer. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha'Allah, Wapatia Saparim, Shema, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allahoi, Yahweh, Akhed. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us in Israel in the house of books, with the school. Then we said, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. So with that, we'll say a Shar Shabbat once again. Wa Malachatawa, Prakate Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, La Harucha Kodash. All right. We'll see you this evening, Israel. Shalom.
Shalom, Israel.